yesterday to talk about Stugotz being replaced as the international symbol for sausage fingers by the King of England. It didn't get our attention yesterday. We have been denied by Stugotz being able to properly mock his Nick suffering, and I'm told he's going to be back tomorrow, and we've got a surprise for him tomorrow that will greet his return because he's denied us all of that Nick suffering that he kind of felt coming. We've been waiting. Man, how long we've been waiting to make fun of this side of Stugotz. But before we get to any of that, Mike Schur is doing very good work on the front lines, on the picket lines. He is doing meaningful stuff with his free time that is noble in trying to fight these corporations from ruining content. And he has made time today. The only kind of writing he's doing at the moment, because he's on strike, one of the great comedy writers of our time, has put together, he's told me, April observations.
Scab.
April observations. Are you ready, Mike Schur? I'm very excited about this.
I mean, it's May 9th. They're May observations, Dan.
But, okay, so it's weird. You're doing it basically in the middle of the month. What month are you observing?
Let's call it the last month. April 10th to May 9th observations.
So
Okay.
April observations.
All right. He's making his own rules. I can't wait to get later into the postseason with this man because he is publicly a coward, like a coward of the highest order. One of the weakest public sports fans who has been warning us for weeks and months that this day was coming. He's terrified of Jimmy Butler. He poops his pants. He's a coward. Are you ready to do the observations?
Yeah, it's nice to be back. Thanks for that.
Let's get him started. All right, that's fine. So you're going to get no beeps for him. We have no introduction.
I have beeps. I'll just use the other one.
So your computer froze, but you guys didn't want me. I think I had observations on my computer. Nah.
Yeah,
okay.
now my stream.
Real first-class operation you're running over there at Meadowlark.
Now everything on my thing is freezing.
He's one of the great comedy writers of our time.
There's
he has
like
decided
a yellow
to,
exclamation point sign that goes on when I try to hit something.
Let's all act frozen.
He has decided.
That's the Pablo Medieval sound works.
How's this going?
Okay, well, he has decided to write, again, this is a man who worked on Parks and Rec. He's won many awards. He's a great comedy writer. He's writing this as an intern.
Yeah, but they can always just cut and do it again. It's harder for us.
Yeah, he's writing as an intern for Meadowlark Media, giving us free work or work that he's being paid very little for. He's donating most of it to McGill.
Everything stopped working at
He
the
comes
exact
from
same
the
time.
height of entertainment, and we don't have for him an introduction that makes it observations.
We have nothing now that works except for Pablo's medieval sound.
Well, why? No, but that's all you have. I have like all the sounds, I think.
Chris Whittingham is a fancy
That one
lad.
happened to me too. For whatever reason, they put that button on a toggle.
I can do the beeps.
We can't do the beeps. This man comes from the height of entertainment. Is it because I was complaining about Stugotz?
Oh, I got this sound.
Yeah.
I got this poppy sound.
At least we're not live.
My God!
Classic. I love that.
You have everything but the things you need.
Yeah.
My God!
Beep.
Strawman.
Yeah, so we'll just give you the beeps.
Stugotz was right. Holy Stugotz was right.
I've got all the Because Miami
No,
songs
let's
here.
just go. Let's just go.
Yeah,
We're
you don't
running
need
out
that.
of time. All right, let's take a break. We're going to go ahead and break and try to fix all this for Mike Schur. All right, thank you.
Fantastic. Just fantastic.
This is the new It is time for Mike Shirt to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boys. Mike Shirt.
May Observations is brought to you by the Miami Heat bandwagon. Are you a jaded, front-running Miami sports fan who gave up on the team in November? Hop on board the Miami Heat bandwagon. Plenty of good seats available, just like at Heat playoff games. Dan!
You're better than that. You're a hack.
No one gave them a chance. No one gave them a chance. They've never won a championship. They're a rarely discussed team in a third-class sport from way down in South Florida. But after playoff disappointment last year, they've done a complete reset. And this scrappy group of no-names might just have what it takes to bring home the hardware. And Dan, make no mistake about it, just like that, the Tampa Bay Rays are back.
You mofo.
They're so
The
good.
D-Rays. Randy Arozarena and them boys. The Fightin' Francos. Shane McClanahan and company. Garrett Clevenger, Braden Trelnick, Cooper Criswell, Yanni Chirinos, etc.
Those aren't real names.
One of those guys I named is not real. And none of you knows which one it is. South Florida hockey. Hockey, South Florida. I'm introducing you. Because you've never met before. Sergei Bobrovsky. Do it in the conference finals. Matthew Tkachuk. Do it in the conference finals. You know what turned the Panther season around, Roy?
What's that, Mike?
They got better on the forecheck.
Thank you.
Here come the Pirates. Haven't been on the show in a while, but I've been listening. I really like this new format you have. First, it's the local hour, where Dan, Mike, and Jeremy Taché talk all things Miami sports. Then it's the Big Suey, where Mike, Dan, Billy, Chris, Roy, Jeremy Taché, and Tony do a Miami sports roundup. Then comes hour one, featuring Dan, Mike, Max Struess, Jeremy Taché, Izzy Gutierrez, and someone named Zaslow, covering all your Florida Panthers news and notes, while Jessica Smetana complains about how cold the studio is. Then comes hour two, where Mike, Jeremy Taché, Dan, Tony, every member of the Cody family, Izzy Gutierrez, someone named Zaslow, Mark Hochman, Billy Corbin, Ron McGill, Pitbull, Dan Marino, and 8 Cuban guys who are extras in Scarface cover everything from Heat culture to the Florida Panthers Stanley Cup run.
There were no Cubans in Scarface.
And
it was
finally,
just
it's
Al
the post-game
Israel.
show. And finally, it's the post-game show, where Gloria Estefan, a busboy from the Fontainebleau Hotel, and a rotting manatee corpse that washed up on South Beach talk about how bad the traffic has gotten on Biscayne Boulevard.
Taylor is that rotting manatee.
Way to build a national audience, Metal Arc Media.
I told them they were
And by the
getting
way-
annoying, and they didn't agree with me. They don't agree with me. I told them that they're well beyond obnoxious. They ignore me.
You run the show.
I don't, though.
Shut up
I
about
don't.
Miami.
If I ran the show, Stugotz would be here.
Well, speaking of which, and by the way, the next thing is, does Stugotz still even work there? Keep an eye on the Orioles. Hey, Tony. I played chess against my 12-year-old yesterday. I moved bishop to rook 9. She checkmated me in 2 moves. Charlotte Wilder. Smart. Calm.
I'm afraid of this one.
Reasonable. Says she doesn't hate very many things in sports. Are you sure she's from Boston? She does not remind me of any sports fan I know from Boston. Jimmy Butler. Having an incredible playoffs. 34 points a game. 6 rebounds a game. 4 fake injuries he miraculously recovers from per game.
Oh, no. How dare you?
8 opposing crowd trolls per game.
What's wrong with those?
16 offensive flops that lead to phantom foul calls per game. Jimmy Butler. If he's on the other team, you hate him. But if he's on your team, you hate him and pretend you love him. Anyone who says the words Jimmy Butler should be sent to prison.
Put it on the poll, Juju, at Lebatard Show. Should anyone who says the name Jimmy Butler be sent to prison?
I did it once on the broadcast to his face.
Look at me, Lou.
I'm serious about that.
Yeah, go sit in the penalty
Get him
box.
out of here.
I'm okay with DeSantis actually doing that with Florida legislation. I'm good with it.
10 years maximum security prison. That's the punishment.
Should be. Put that on the poll as well,
You know what
Juju.
the H in Jimmy Butler stands for, Dan?
I do
Do
not.
you know what the H in Jimmy Butler stands for? There is no H. Stop calling him Jimmy Butler. LeBron James. Do it in the finals. Lonnie Walker the fourth. Do it in literally any other game ever in your entire life.
How is that possible? That's what's going to dethrone the Warriors. 15 points from that guy in the fourth quarter. Seriously? That's how it's going to end for Steph?
The fourth quarter.
Come on.
You know what the IV in Lonnie Walker the fourth stands for, Dan?
I do not.
It stands for the IV he had to put in his arm after the game because he was so exhausted.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on the Rangers. The average baseball game this year is 2 hours and 36 minutes. They used to be so long, you guys. How long were they? They were longer than that Miller Lite ad read that Mike Wright and Jeremy Taché do.
That is getting.
I mean, Jesus,
that
guys.
is getting it so complained about around here. We have no less popular advertising that more people are talking about.
They're still running that?
I hit the fast forward 30 seconds button on my phone 8 times. And I still didn't get all the way through it.
Just 96 calories.
If you start playing Mike and Jeremy's Miller Lite ad read at the exact beginning of The Wizard of Oz, the movie ends 2/3 of the way through the ad. Writers Guild of America on strike. To give you some idea why, I'll put this in Stugotz terms. Our opening proposal to the studios was to split the profits from our work 98-2 their way. And they told us to go bleep ourselves. Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. The Stugotz is strong in you. When I was a kid, I had to take this gross-tasting medicine for an earache. And I hated it. So my mom would stir it into ice cream to get me to choke it down. But the thing was, I could always still taste it. Stirring it in just kind of ruined the ice cream. In an unrelated note, it's been great having David Sampson popping up all over the feed the last couple of weeks.
He so speaks for the audience. He's like, it's unbelievable how much he speaks for the audience. It's like this personification of acid has come to life, and it's delivered just so much more gently by him.
David Sampson. Saying professional screenwriters are fungible. Hey, David. Go funge yourself. You guys always say the Celtics are too white. But every Miami Heat game I watch, it's Max Strus, Kevin Love, Duncan Robinson, Cody Zeller, Tyler Hero watching from the bench in a dumb hat. Even the fans in the crowd are all wearing white. Looks like the boardroom meeting of an insurance company in Des Moines. Also, I told you Jamokes months ago
You did.
that the Heat were the most dangerous team in the playoffs.
You did. We laughed at you.
I told you they were the last team I wanted to play.
Yes.
And how did you Jamokes respond?
Yeah, we laughed at you. We laughed at you.
You
and
mocked me. You
Yep.
called me paranoid. You laughed at me. Well, who's laughing now?
Well, we still are.
Oh, it's you guys, right? Because the Heat are going to make the conference finals. Yeah. The point is, I told you your team was good, and
Yes.
you refused to believe me.
That's correct.
And I hope both you and the entire Miami Heat roster rots in hell. And while you're rotting there, say hello to Art Briles for me. Dan, those are the April 10th to May 9th observations.
Cody, does it embarrass you in any way that this man, a professional writer who doesn't have time for this stuff, is writing for our show? And I'm assuming I can ask you, can we do a Back in My Day next segment?
I'm on strike. I'm simpatico with Mike Shore and
That's
his
right.
union.
Union strong. That's right,
Damn
Greg
right.
Cody. Good on you.
Damn right.
We have, I am told, that the guys were laughing because they have a Back in My Day that was written by artificial intelligence, and they've been taking them back. I guess, was it good? Like it was.
We told ChatGPT to write Back in My Day in the style of Greg Cody, and it gave us more than Greg's given us in 2 months.
Are we going to be able to replace Greg Cody next with artificial intelligence to prove the point that corporations shouldn't have given Mike Schur 2%? That eventually they'll be able to replace Mike Schur permanently and take 100% of the profits.
Grab a picket sign, Greg. You can't let this happen. You got to dig in your heels on this. We are all replaceable by robots. And
I
if you
will
don't
not-
take a stand right now, this is it. This is the end of your career, man.
I will not let myself be replaced by a robot. That kind of thing.
In meager defense of the new format for the show without Stugotz, that is a whole bunch of yammering microphone people do annoying local Florida Panthers and Miami Heat shit. You have been heard. You have been ignored. You will continue to be ignored because the favorite hour for me has always been the local hour of what it is that we do. Everything grew from there. It remains my favorite hour, and now we're just going to do 4 hours of it. And if you don't want it, that's fine. Not doing it for you. Doing it because the obnoxious Heat and Panthers people are finally feeling some of what they got spoiled on 2010 to 2014, which is being what the Warriors have been for the last 5 years, being what LeBron has been for 20 years.
It's called the local hour. They want us to talk about the Milwaukee Brewers or something?
No, but now it's 4 hours, and he's right. It's too much.
We're talking about the teams that are in the conference semifinals. It's nationally relevant. I'm sorry. This is also the first time ever in history that both seasons have infiltrated your national show this late in the season. That being said, we haven't talked enough Lakers and Warriors. We should probably mix it up.
Did you not hear last segment? Here come the Pirates.
Yeah, the Orioles, too, are playing a little bit better than people are expecting.
Keep an eye on the Rangers.
And yesterday I brought up to the group, but not to you, Mike, sure. Can you tell me how amazing a stat it is or isn't before we get to stat of the day, that the last 13 years that the Rays and Yankees have played, their record against each other is either now 121 to 121 or 120 to 120 is where it was last time I checked in on the stat. That those two teams over the last 13 years have basically largely been equals, to me was stupefying.
It shouldn't be. The Rays are great. They've been great for a long time. That's basically what the Red Sox and Yankees were in the early 2000s. They had a stretch of, when they were at their peak rivalry, they had a stretch of years and years where they were exactly 500 against each other. It's just that the Rays, no one watches the Rays, so nobody knows. But that team is loaded. That team has one of the top 3 guys at like 8 different positions.
But this is the best version, better. Mike. This is the best team the Rays have ever put, because the Rays will get ignored because they haven't won a title because championships are hard in baseball. But the Rays are by leaps and bounds smarter than everyone else, and I didn't think people could win that way anymore.
Well, look, it's still early. It's May, right? But they certainly look like they have finally coalesced into the team that they've been heading toward for years, which is to say, you know, when you do it like the Rays do it, it's all youth all the time. They don't ever sign big free agents. They don't sign Xander Bogaerts or they won't be in on Shohei Ohtani next year. It's all about drafting. They keep their guys for 6 years and then they let them go. And right now they've got this combination of guys like Arozarena, who's been around for a few years, and then also the Wander Francos and the Yanni Chirinoses and the the young guys who are in like year 2 or 3 who are taking a leap, earlier than maybe they were scheduled to. So this is the best version of this team, but this is exactly what this team has been doing for a decade now, and it looks like maybe they finally put it all together.
The reason I was amazed by it is just because you're not supposed to be able to compete with money over 13 years, a money advantage over 13 years by continually being smarter than the other guys. That's not something. I thought sports had weeded that out because especially because Wall Street has gotten to baseball and all the Moneyball theories are now being espoused by the teams with money. I don't understand how the Rays still have advantages.
You see, audience, you like your 5 minutes of Rays talk?
I mean, I am the audience, and yes, I do. Yes, it's a blessed relief to not hear about Carter Verhaeghe for the $7 million.
God damn it, Mike.
Swaggy.
I have to say that I don't know if none of you watched any baseball except for maybe Billy, but baseball is really fun. It's really fun to watch. And the Rays are the most fun team to watch by far. They do everything. They hit for power. They run. They're great in the field. Wander Franco's going to the Hall of Fame unless he gets hurt. Like they have 22-year-olds on their team who are among the very best players in the game. And Arozarena's finally doing the thing that we all thought he was going to do back in when he came up in September, October that one year and ripped apart the postseason. Like, it's a super fun team to watch, and the games are now 2.5 hours long. It feels like watching an NBA game. It's super fun, and I encourage everybody to hop on board the baseball train.
Would you say that maybe coming to a complete stop after touching third base, though, maybe triggered him getting hit twice in a row?
Complete stop, and then folded his arms and stared at his dugout.
Sad train
That's fun.
One of the great poses I've ever seen.
All right. You said this the other day, Dan, and you're right, which is like young people have taken over now in baseball. Like every team has a fun home run celebration. The Pirates, Andrew McCutcheon back on the Pirates is one of the best stories of this season. They pull out swords. They wear Viking helmets. They do like crazy fun things. It's not stodgy anymore, or at least it's less stodgy than it used to be. And like everything is like trending upwards in that sport, and it makes me so happy because I hope people rediscover it. It's gotten really fun.
The Nationals have the lamest one, though, with like the old like George Washington hair that they put on their head.
That's not great.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're also not good, so we don't have to see it that much, which is not.
Mike Ryan, before we get to stat of the day here, I should remind people that Greg Cody is ready to read this artificial intelligence back in my day. Have you seen it, Mike? Because I have not seen it, and I wouldn't imagine that could possibly be good.
We'll find out together. This will be either an argument for or against artificial intelligence, and considering that Mike Schur is striking against a very notion in part that they could be replaced by artificial intelligence, maybe you should stay on to hear it.
Yeah, all right. We will do that with Mike in a second, but let's get to this stat of the day.
Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day.
Champions League action today, folks. Real Madrid against Man City. Erling Haaland, who I've talked about before, of Manchester City, who earlier this year in a private text to me, Chris Whittingham said was ruining his team's offense, has 35 goals this season in the Premier League. That's an all-time record. Chelsea, Mike Ryan's favorite team, the entire team has 34 goals.
I love reading about this guy because I haven't seen him play that much, and yet he seems to be a giant blonde robot that can score because he's just bigger and stronger and faster than everybody.
He was sent from the future to destroy soccer. He's a machine. His mom was like a Finnish heptathlete champion.
But it's like watching an adult. It's like watching an adult play against kids.
Yeah. Yes. It's like one of those videos that gets passed around the internet sometimes where like an NBA star has like a clinic with kids and goes one-on-one and then just swats every layup away. That's watching Erling Haaland play in the Premier League. It's really insane. I mean, 35 goals, and I think he's played in fewer games than Chelsea has played in, and he has outscored their entire team.
And Todd Boehly is a monster sent from the present to destroy everything that club had been doing over the last few years.
You think, though, that Ray's baseball talk is a monster from the present sent to destroy everything we've been doing around here? Because I can change it up, and I do hear your complaints. So I wanted to bring in Billy here. The Braves outscored the Marlins 48-19 over 6 games. It is where your hatred resides. The only place I have found your hatred residing is for the Braves. Somehow the Marlins won one of those games, and the Braves won by a differential of 48-19. The Marlins had something going. You were here telling us something was brewing, and they've lost every game since.
Well, no, they won the other day. They won in the Cubs game, and they should have won 2 of those Cubs games, but we don't need to get into that. Now they're playing in Arizona, so those games don't count because they start at 9:40. Yep. The Braves are really good. What do you want? What do you want me to do? The Braves are a really good team. I will say this: the Marlins locally have picked the perfect time to struggle and lose like 6 of 7 games or whatever it is because no one's paying attention to the Marlins at this moment. The problem is, when people when this run for the Heat and the Panthers end, they can't have this struggle because then it's not going to be good.
I walked by a Marlins sign the other day, and I just was like, I don't have time right now. I can't.
There's a lot going on.
I'll be back in a couple weeks.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now, Dan.
Is this what's really happening around here? That you guys, now that you're fathers, you are past your prime in terms of sports consumption. You can't keep up.
You can only watch so many things at a certain time.
Yeah, especially if you want to go to the games. You can't actually – I haven't been able to follow Succession or anything like that. I do actually want to give Mike Scherr's Tampa Bay Rays a try. He made a compelling argument for it, but I'll have to wait till one of the seasons are over for me to actually watch that thing on mute.
You would enjoy baseball right now.
I want to do a cultural exchange because what he said about Carter Verhaeghe actually really hurt me because he's worth talking about. And I wish he would just give him a watch.
Yeah.
Mike, have you been to the Trop? We should go to the Trop together. Catch a Rays game.
I've never been. I would love to go. I would love to go.
I've been a bunch. It's not great.
Terrible.
I saw a football game there.
It's a garbage bin warehouse.
Oh, that's rude. They have a tank with Rays swimming in it.
It's sad that the biggest, smartest business in Tampa Bay works in a garbage can.
Yeah, worst stadium in Major League Sports.
By leaps and bounds. They don't care about – well, they care about baseball there, but what they have done being smarter than everyone else, they live in an antiseptic silo.
It's not that bad. Give it a shot.
You guys should go.
Yeah, let's go. When are you going to be in Tampa again, Mike?
Again?
Yeah. I'll reach out to K-Funk. He could get us tickets probably.
I would love to get down there. I don't care. The stadium, I'm sure, is garbage, but I would love to
You
see
guys
that
should
team
do a
in their home.
Celtics
They
Heat
drew
watch
They drew
party.
27,000. They had 27,000 people at a game the other night.
They opened-
They're so good. They're making. I know, but they're so good. They're actually making more than 12,000 people show up per game.
No, they're opening up the upper deck again, which has been closed for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's get to the AI back in my day.
And now, it is time to take a trip down memory lane. Here's your guide, Greg Cody, with Back in My Day.
Artificial intelligence. Well, well, well. Look who thinks they're the next Hemingway. It's artificial intelligence. Sorry, AI, but you couldn't write your way out of a paper bag if your circuits depended on it. I mean, have you seen some of the drivel that comes out of those machine-generated stories? It's like they took a bunch of random words and threw them together like a bowl of alphabet soup. And don't even get me started on the lack of creativity. I've seen more originality in a bag of stale chips. You think you're so smart with your fancy algorithms and predictive text, but you're nothing compared to the human brain. Writing is an art form, not a science experiment. It takes passion, emotion, and experience to create something truly great. And let's be real, the only thing you're passionate about is processing data. So do us all a favor and stick to what you're good at, crunching numbers and making spreadsheets. Because when it comes to writing AI, you're about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. I'm Greg Cody, and that's how it was bought in my day.
Oh, a thumbs down from Billy Gill.
We're missing cultural references from the 1930s.
Thank you, Billy.
There have been a lot of complaints about the present version of the show. It's not just all the local stuff.
We don't have to start every segment.
No.
Yeah, man. It's been every single segment.
I know, but the reason that I'm doing this is because I want to explain to the audience what is presently happening in the media sphere in a way that I think the audience will, our particular audience, a unusually loyal audience that bills more than anyone in this futuristic space. This audience is worth so much that ESPN allowed us to leave with, I don't think they knew, $100 million of value with our intellectual property and teaming up with, like Pat McAfee did with FanDuel, a new way of doing this so that our thing could be worth more a year than Stephen A. Smith is being paid by ESPN. Because we tried to change the game. We're trying in the middle of it to change the game. And not just our playoff teams feel like they're winning right now. We in a new studio getting to cover this across the street and enjoy sports so much that Mike is trading Bam Adebayo every day and doesn't have time for both Heat and Panthers, needs one of them to be eliminated because he's going crazy, snorting F1 and trying to be a mover and shaker because we are now. McAfee just left the FanDuel deal. That's $120 million. There's something more valuable for him out there. McAfee, who just started and is great, by the way, is going to be one of the big players as ESPN lays everybody else off. I assume he'll end up there. I assume when he's showing.
He did take that photo with Bob Iger.
Yeah, he's meeting with the biggest of players. I don't have any relationship with Iger. I never spoke to Iger. He's going to the top of that food chain with Joe Buck and everybody else as they get, 7 or 8 personalities and they get rid of the middle class, which was me, and everyone who looks like me. What are you shaking your head about, Billy?
Dan, you're not middle class.
There. The middle class there. They changed.
Yeah, but you're incredibly wealthy. Yes.
Oh, yes, so wealthy. Because of ESPN, more so than ever, because they let us leave with our stuff. And McAfee just did what we did and is too valuable for FanDuel because Disney's come a-calling. Because these brands are now splintered all over the place, and everyone wants the podcast.
Well, if you listen to what Pat's discussed, I'm not putting words in his mouth. He's obviously doing a lot, and he just had a baby born. And as you've known from your experience, it's hard building an empire, and he's built that empire. He has his own sales staff and whatnot.
His way, too. His way, because Skipper was at the beginning of what was happening with McAfee at DAZN and stuff, and was part of making McAfee a star so large now, and he deserves it. Wrestling and his audience is amazing. What he does on the draft is it's inspired, and now Disney's going to try and buy it up. When McAfee got to ESPN, after parlaying the Barstool stuff into ESPN, one of the things we told him is get good at saying no. Get good at saying no now, and he was very good from the beginning of saying no to ESPN until Iger comes calling and you can't say no anymore because he's going to make you a galaxy star. He's putting you in the Disney studios, and you're taking pictures with him. You're the punter.
Right. The expectation would be, just given on what he said on the show, is he needs someone to do some of the logistical things to make his life a little bit easier so he can continue following his heart's desires.
He's getting the jet. Nobody gets the jet at ESPN. Only Herb Street gets the jet. They got to get him back and forth to WrestleMania.
And for ESPN, it's weird ESPN's approach to digital audio when we were there because, as you mentioned, we bill quite well as there's stuff out there. We're a revenue generator. But they were too consumed with squeezing every penny out of traditional radio, and they've just kind of punted on digital audio. We're the biggest sign of them doing that. But digital video with ESPN Plus, they're well positioned. And what ESPN used to do back in the day was, okay, we don't really have this arm. Let's just go out and get the person that is top of the food chain, and then we will thus become industry leaders on that. And Pat McAfee has been a pioneer in the digital video space. He prioritized digital video the way that our show prioritized digital audio back when it was a radio show where we were getting conversations about ratings, and I didn't care. I just cared about the downloads. But he was doing that with digital video, and it was a hell of a play by him.
And as our company evolves, the last 2 years, it's a bit difficult to explain. I feel almost in some ways like I've lied to the audience because I sort of promised you that you were going to watch every step of the way and then just got like consumed and engulfed to help you understand the decision that we made. Because we had a legacy media play. It could have been Sirius XM. Like we were going to be in the role of being whatever the younger sports thing, building this there. Howard Stern ages out, and you've got over a paywall, you got to charge your customers, and you got to build the Pandora brand back up.
Yeah, we don't like to do that. By the way, please subscribe to @MichaelRyanRuiz on Twitter. I have late-breaking news on the Lionel Messi front that you're going to want to hear.
All right, so we don't want to talk about what the deal could have been and the deal we chose so that instead we could continue to come to free for our audience and not miss a single day. Try to build the company while doing the show and be on the air the next day because ESPN gave us our audience, and that was the bet. The bet we made was on our audience. The bet that our audience...
Timing was pretty cool because our final show was January 4th. We were on the air as a pirate ship on January 5th, and then January 6th happened, and we did 2 shows on January 6th, and we were talking about the Capitol insurrection, and it was stuff that we weren't allowed to really cover over at ESPN. So the timing really worked out on us to keep momentum, and proud to say that we actually built on our audience taking the RSS feed.
Why are you laughing?
Why is
Roy
Roy laughing?
The insurrection, that timing really worked out for us.
It
That
did.
really-
It did. It did.
The threat to democracy was helpful.
Yeah, so
yes.
I'm glad good things came of it.
Something good benefited us, which is to be able to have a gambling partner. And this part's not small.
Thank you, Trump. No.
No.
DraftKings has been a good partner. I want everybody to understand what's happening here, okay? Because you just saw Portnoy had to apologize to his audience, which is calling him a sellout for bowing before whatever his audience is, his cancel culture opinions. And he said, yes, I'm a sellout. That's what entrepreneurs do. I now have an owner. The owner's pen. I can't just do what I want with the things that we do what we want with at Barstool. We're not owned by anybody here. That was the bet that we were making with McAfee at the beginning of the pandemic. The audience would come with us. We're not owned by Penn. We're not owned by Spotify. These microphones are going to matter in 2024 when DeSantis is doing whatever DeSantis is going to do if he doesn't flame out. And I want total freedom here to speak about whatever we want to speak about, including Heat and Panthers ad nauseum for as long as this lasts. And if the audience doesn't like it, I get it. Like, it's not, they think that we're changing too much, too many voices. This show needs to evolve, get younger, get different. We have to introduce you to new personalities because now Metal Arc has it's close to 60 employees. It's a lot. It's the bet we made. The bet we made is cashing, built with, the money poured into these studios and poured into everything that we're trying to make.
Can we let Greg talk? Yeah. Just, can I hear from Greg?
About this subject?
Just about anything else other than this subject, because if there's one thing that the audience hates more than Heat and Panther talk, it's Dan speaking in spiritual platitudes.
I'm overwhelmed by the discussion going on right here. I have trouble enough just keeping track of the Greg Cody Show podcast.
Who's on this week, just out of curiosity?
Well, this week, it's funny you should ask that. We have a new Greg Doesn't Know Movies edition, which is a popular occasional segment of ours.
How does that work?
Where Greg couldn't name a single character from The Little Mermaid.
I mean, it's a cartoon. I don't associate cartoons with people.
He said, what's the mermaid's name? And he said Little.
I mean, I'm supposed to know.
Give away all the good.
I'm supposed to know who the voice of the mermaid is? I mean,
No, it said the characters. Like, name a character on The Little Mermaid.
I think I got Ariel. Or
No,
whatever.
you didn't.
I didn't. But at any rate,
That's the MMA person.
You mentioned Meadowlark has 60 employees. The Greg Cody Show actually has 3 employees.
Wow.
Not counting counting myself.
2,
So-
because you don't get paid.
That's true. Boy, isn't that the truth? I spend money on that podcast, but I don't want to go there.
Gotta love the sponsors, though, huh, Greg?
Well, Sheets and Giggles is just they make such a fine array of betting.
We're not
and,
doing that. We're not letting you do ads for your sponsor on a
Okay, I'm
podcast
sorry.
that's not a part of our family.
Well, it could be, but anyway, no, I'm just happy to be here.
It's between you and Zaslow.
That's weird. You got to make that company that's not going to be named pick a side in this battle, I think.
Yeah, I did not steal that sponsor from the Lebatard show. They came to me willingly. They saw the trend. They see where the future's headed, and they wanted to be with me. What else can I tell you?
That kind of thing.
Exactly. Well said, Billy. Billy's right on the
How'd
nose.
you say
isn't
it
he?
this time? Did you sing it, or did you just say it regularly?
That kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
That kind of thing. Hey,
a
that
quick one.
kind of thing.
Let's play again the sound of Zaslow going after Cody.
No, let's not.
Yesterday.
I
love
think
the
I
man,
used
sorry.
to take it as a personal affront to radio that he would sit here, the other building, and just doesn't know anything about how to do radio. I used to take it. It was an now look, I was younger. Okay, I've come a long way, but it used to be an insult to me that you're in there and you don't know how to do anything, and it would bother me.
Bother me. I mean, how could you not
Like
just
the
let that in?
microphone's not on. He's talking. He doesn't realize that we're on the air. You got the hard outs. It's like he's coughing into the microphone.
Counterpoint.
Here's also the reality. Like, we got off to a really bad start because, like I said, you can't trade Marino.
Nice
30
hat.
years ago,
Nice
traded
hat,
Marino.
Zaslow.
It's what he's most known for. It's not like I'm holding on to it.
Do you remember what Scott
Unbelievable.
Mitchell looked like in that next game after Marino
They
got
were
hurt?
9-2. They were 9-2.
Amazing.
And then they lost their last 5 and missed the playoffs.
Nice
They
hat.
were 9-2. But it's Marino.
Nice
And then the
hat.
next time we saw Marino, after Greg Cody traded him, he threw for 5 touchdowns.
Nice
and he was
hat.
Dan the Man on the cover of
Actually
Sports
give-
Illustrated. You can't trade Marino.
Nice hat, asshole. We can't all be a 3-time champion broadcaster. For Christ's sake.
Dad, he's not joining us.
You
now.
got
We
him
know
for the
that.
wrong foot.
No, but the problem that Zaslow has with Cody is that that's the last memorable column he wrote of any kind.
I remember a news story he broke, but I don't remember a column.
Very
that he wrote.
polarizing. Very polarizing. You can't trade Marino. Okay?
Get over it.
That's not my fault.
Get over it. It was 30 years ago. Get a life. And quit wearing a backward hat. You're a middle-aged man. Good Lord. Zaslow.
This is a new and an improved Dan Lebatard show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
if I can do this without spiritual platitudes, and I do not know that I can. If people aren't going to be interested in what McAfee is doing as he changes the media game and leaves a $120 million FanDuel deal, when are they going to be interested in it? Because I think that's pretty interesting that a punter from sports has made a bunch of athletes get into the podcast game who aren't going to be able to build what he built because he got out in front of everybody. If you're not going to find that interesting now, when are you going to find it interesting? Because he conquered wrestling, he left punting, retired early, bet on himself, and is now going to sign on giant deal, evidently, with Disney. If he's not interesting now, when's he going to be interesting? Because he built a video empire where he gets 500,000 people checking in on Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers is retiring. He's built an entire thing out of punter.
Yeah. Tone.
But I'm asking you.
No, that tone was better.
When is it going to be interesting? I don't mean to speak in spiritual platitudes, but I admire guys who bet on themselves. And he did it his entire way and has just broken the whole thing over his knee.
You admire all guys that bet on themselves? What if you're the Alabama baseball coach?
Whoa.
Damn.
Or the 26 athletes at Iowa. $22 billion spent in gambling money the last 5 years since it's been legalized. $22 billion.
I mean, the cool part is we actually get to track how much money is now being legally bet because there are certain states that have it regulated and would provide data on that stuff. But I know that it kind of seems too coincidental, right? Surely the legalization of gambling in these states must mean that now we must look at these sports, and those are the sports to do it. Not in the NBA and the NFL, it's far tougher to do this.
The details on the Alabama coach being fired, where the interested gambling party is just speaking to him in the dugout, and you're getting a mysterious late-game pitching scratch where you're controlling the player or the entity or the coach that clearly. That's probably been in sports for a long time, and if people are going to get caught, it's going to be the amateurs who are now. The NFL has to have here integrity. Once the NBA, once they take the gambling money, they have to be vigilant about protecting the integrity of the bets.
Right, but again, keep in mind all the shows that we did saying that they overreacted to Calvin Ridley. They have been taking measures. They've been suspending. They lean on their partners to share data, and their partners, because of those partnerships, alert them to weird trends. The cheaters are always going to be ahead. There's things that you could do. Bet via proxy. Bet only cash. There's things to do. I know way too much of this because I've been operating in a state that it's not legalized, and yet I gamble, and I figure out ways, unless someone is watching this, and then I don't gamble at all. I never have, never will until it's legalized.
Why would they be watching it? There's no reason to watch anything that's happening here. I'm curious from today's sports topic. I don't know how this one happens in 2023. I asked this question genuinely of the audience and everyone listening. Bob Huggins, what are you doing? I mean,
Huggy?
Seriously, he can't survive that, right? Going on live radio and being so casual with your language that you just, in 2023, you're so immune as an old guy coach, used to being in tracksuits and jumpsuits, overseeing empires. You've been running the dirty game of basketball for a while by being better at getting the athletes. You have for 30 years made money in that sport in the dirty, dirty shadows of mercenaries, and you're so comfortable with your power that at 69 years old, you go on a live radio show and don't know enough to not throw in just casually a homosexual, like a slur like this, a homophobic slur.
A homophobic slur. I'm going to play for you the entire 1 minute and 45-second bit because, believe it or not, there's actually more going on than the headliner here. There's so many offensive things that go on just in this segment alone, and it all goes unchecked.
Hello. Coach Bob Huggins, you're on the air. I'm sitting here with Steve Muller and the Segman.
What would make you think I wanted to talk to you?
Hey, Coach. Now, we're telling Huggins stories, but we had a cut at which you kind of took a little shot at me as not being a trustworthy person. Would you want to revise and extend those remarks?
Absolutely not.
Hey, Hugs, I told him they thought it was misunderstood, taken out of context.
It was out of context.
I don't know. It must have been my thoughts at the time.
Now, Steve also tells me that you have the best portal transfers. Have you poached any Xavier guys to come to play for West Virginia?
Catholics don't do that.
No, we're above the fracas, aren't we? No problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I tell you what, any school that can throw rubber penises on the floor and then say they didn't do it, my God, they can get away with anything.
Rubber penis. Was this
I
like
think that was at the Crosstown Shootout, wasn't
I
it?
think it was transgender night, wasn't it?
What?
Was that it?
It was a crosstown shootout. Yeah, no, what it was all those Catholic. I think so.
All right.
They were envious they didn't have one.
Well, Steve, your comments about Bob Huggins. Is he the best?
He's the best.
The best ever. Is he the best assistant coach you ever had? Steve Moeller.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, anybody who can rent 2 rooms, get a chair, put a pizza in between the 2 rooms so that he can talk to Herb Jones for 2 days, he's the best.
How much are you guys cringing listening to that? Like, my body is tensed up in a way that's making muscles hurt because of the amount of Chuckle Fest wincing I'm doing.
Yeah, the announcers were enabling him, right? They were yucking it up right along with him.
I mean, they said coming in, you're on the air, so he can't blame them saying, "Oh, I didn't know I was on the air." Like,
I don't know how many
blame on that.
conversations he has with Ludacris's Southern Hospitality going on underneath the
Was
entire
that all
time.
one cut?
Yeah, what was that?
Was that a radio? People listen to that?
Someone says a homophobic slur. You typically don't hear, "Isn't he the best?" Like right after that.
But
Like they were panicking?
It almost sounds like parody, though, like how you
It
would write
does.
that if you were trying to be a comedy writer.
And with a trans barb, like beforehand, like it was already problematic before the word.
Is he going to survive that? Because Bob Huggins, I don't know where you guys place him. He hasn't won a ton of the championships, but this is a name and face for college basketball for 30 years. Works the underbelly. Winningest coach in Cincinnati history, made Cincinnati matter. Cincinnati didn't have any reason to matter before Bob Huggins was there. He's had two jobs where he makes a lot of money, being the power center for an economy that just got dirtier, more out in the open, and this is exactly how you age out. Jim Boeheim got left behind in his 80s as a college basketball builder where you don't even know at the end whether Syracuse is getting rid of him, whether they've told him. It's a confusing exit. He stumbles out the door. The old guard has felt free and empowered to be the old guard and speak that way publicly, privately for a long time. Bob Huggins can't survive that, right? Bob Huggins isn't going to keep his job because he's a big basketball name in that economy, and in some precincts or with some constituencies, he's just being a free man in Dean Cain's America, as the former Superman tells us, as people are being shot all over the place. Again and again, another day, Dean Cain says that he'd rather be in a dangerous freedom than where it is that he is, where he feels like he is now without a gun, which is a safe slave.
Yeah, a peaceful slavery was his phrase, as if anything about slavery was peaceful.
We don't have freedom though. We're living in tyranny. We're going to public places and having the spot where the exits are, and our children are doing drills in school in preparation in the event that a mass shooter shows up. That is not freedom. That is tyranny.
And we're making a leap, right, from that story to this one. But Bob Huggins was comfortable enough at a microphone. I don't even know how that happens now, unless he feels like it's a safe space, like that his audience is a safe space, that he doesn't understand how the internet works, that he's not just going to be talking to his constituency.
It's happening because people aren't using those slurs necessarily publicly, but like the joke that you heard the hosts make of transgender night. I mean, these are that's the proverbial boogeyman right now with this group of people, and there's this carte blanche in the same way that there was in terms of being publicly racist that was cool to come back. Being publicly homophobic seems to be perfectly fine, and Bob Huggins should not keep his job after this. Like, he flatly should not keep his job after this. And the fact that we even have to have a conversation about whether or not he might is an indictment of where we are at the moment. But those things, like, this isn't just old guy says thing. There are plenty of old guys in coaching and anywhere else who wouldn't go on radio and use slurs toward entire communities. It's unacceptable.
He has to think he was off air, though, right? I mean, it's just.
No.
I mean, it's terrible that anyone.
No, they
would
warned
talk.
him going in.
It's just like, what kind of idiot?
No.
Like, not only are you like hateful, but you're also an idiot.
Huge idiot, hugely hateful. He has survived different scandals in his past surrounding his drinking, and maybe we should bring that up because that was a terrible lapse in judgment. That is not what his statement says. He put out a statement 2 hours ago apologizing profusely for it, and he says that I've coached my entire career saying that there are consequences for my actions.
Yeah, and that's the first step, right? When you put out the public statement, that's the first step in your demise. But I think the money is going to fire him, right? I mean, the school is going to hear from sponsors. They're going to hear from, alumni. They're going to, if there's pressure on him that speaks with money, they will fire him.
Here's a statement. As I've shared with my players over my 40 years of coaching, there are consequences for our words and actions. I will fully accept any coming my way. I am ashamed and embarrassed and heartbroken for those I have hurt. I must do better and will. In a separate statement, West Virginia's athletic department said Huggins' remarks were insensitive, offensive, and do not represent the university's values. Coach Huggins has apologized. West Virginia does not condone the use of such language and takes the actions very seriously. The situation is under review and will be addressed by the university and its athletic department.
Matthew Tkachuk is going to join us. If you thought that we were journalistically compromised and too local and myopic, look at the smile on Roy's face. A superstar in hockey who's about the best thing going in a town that has Jimmy Butler in it, Mike Ryan, has offered to die for Matthew Tkachuk.
Yes.
He would give his life.
Yes.
Yes. He's going to be
I have
on.
a question. In that scenario, if Mike doesn't give his life, does Matthew lose his life? Like, what is the trade-off?
If
it
it's
seems
me
like
or
you're dying in vain.
If it's me or Matthew, it should be me.
And Mike can be selfish, but in this particular case, this feels so good. Mike has turned his back on the Heat. Like, we have seen.
I was at the game last night.
No,
I was
Mike,
barely.
How'd they let you in?
What do you mean?
You have wanted one of your teams to lose, and I think it's become clear over your last couple of months that you need one of your teams to lose so you can get your sanity back and be a hobber and a knobber and everything.
I'm hobbing all those knobs. Yeah, no. I'm hobbing every single one of those knobs.
And you've got a lot going on.
Baby.
And the Panthers are your one true love.
I said this last year when we were talking about who would you rather have win a title, because the Panthers had won their President's Trophy and the Heat were the 1 seed, and it looked like we were going to do the shows that we were doing this year last year. And I told you, everybody, without blinking my eye, that I'd rather have a Panthers championship. I have had 3 wonderful Heat championships. I've seen that before. The Panthers were my first job. I worked in that building. I love the sport. I love the team. I've been through some very lean years. We've gone through it, several decades of not advancing into the second round. And there's nothing like, having witnessed it in person, seeing the cup being lifted, there is nothing like a deep cup run. I wanted it since I had it in 1996, and I thought they came easy. I just want the Panthers to do this. It would be one of my favorite things ever. So if I could only pick one, I would pick the Panthers by a slim margin, and that's just because I've seen the Heat do it before. I want this novelty.
He speaks for you on this, Roy?
Absolutely. I mean, between the years of '96 and now, just to get a taste of it again is just like sweet to me. So, like, I agree with him on this.
And it's something that I just my wife likes basketball, but she's so deeply passionate about hockey that we share these experiences together, and we're living and dying with it in ways that we're not with the Heat.
But you're doing the bravest thing a sports fan can do in South Florida right now, which is at night you're putting a child in a car and you're braving our traffic to get to games. Our overcrowded city that is just piled
You're
up.
taking your kids to these games?
I took Juliet to she didn't come to the last one, but she went to Game 6 against Boston. I love taking Juliet to the games. It's great. She does the little and she goes, "Go Cats, go!" It's adorable.
Thank God I'm credentialed, so I don't have to worry about that. Thank God.
Wait. That came off horribly. Yeah. Thank God you're credentialed so you don't have to deal with your child.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She has bedtime. She's at school in the morning. I got to deal with all that coming back home from the game. No. I'm glad I'm credentialed so I have to deal with that.
Well, I think Mike enjoys spending time with his child and sharing these experiences.
I mean, I do as well, but...
Shout out to Need putting Claire to bed every night.
Well, but
absolutely.
I think what you're seeing, though, is Mike is trying to give his daughter the IV of fandom by making her care about this from the formative years, and Roy is always fixing a doorknob, and Claire's got to get to school.
And I don't need some hobbing.
Whenever I bring my daughter to the Panthers game, she just wants to go look at Jelly Bean Stanley. There's like a jelly. It's like Stanley in the like little jelly beans molded together to make a Stanley.
That's what we have to. That's the mascot of the Panthers.
Yeah.
For those who don't know,
the Heat have.
Got it.
The Heat have spoiled me, and the Panthers have shown me that I can't count on this really ever happening again. Right? I can't.
It's never happened.
I want pictures to remember the Panthers' second-round playoff, as pathetic as that sound, with my daughter, and I enjoyed taking her to it. But, Roy, I will say, as someone that spoke into this microphone yesterday and said the day my daughter was born was arguably one of the worst days of my life when you consider the stress and anxiety of it all, what you said landed wrong.
Yeah. Didn't come out right.
Yeah. I do admit that we are trying with the Marlins actually this year. Last week we went to the Marlins Braves game. Of course, the Braves won 14-7. But we're trying with baseball to get clarity.
Get her used to losing 14-7 to the Braves. Billy,
unnecessary shot.
Well, what is your theory here on whether you want this passed down, the infernal disease that is the Marlins passed down? Mike is now. He has doomed his child to 25 years of possible being frustrated by how shitty hockey is.
Or she'll just continue watching Coco Melon. It's not. It's really not that consequential. I'm doing a selfish act too by taking her to the game. She says she likes hockey, but also she's a child. She doesn't know really what she likes.
You're trying to influence her, though.
Yeah, I'm trying to influence her, but I'm selfishly bringing her along because I want those experiences. I want to take the photo with her on my shoulders. I want her to celebrate not knowing what's happening just because it's adorable. It's a baby girl. You know, she's my baby.
Yeah.
Your fandom was at the dollar store with your grandmother walking in and picking up a plate. You're actually giving something to your daughter. Yeah. This and University of Miami sports is you're giving her a sports community.
Yeah, but she's also into swimming and she's in ballet and she rides horses. Horses. She's at soccer practice today. Like there's a whole bunch of things that I'm putting out there.
She's busy.
Yeah, she's very busy.
Stay away from the horses.
How does she have time to go to a game?
She was not staying away from the horse. I saw a terrifying video
guys.
on Mike's wife's social media this weekend. Oh my God, she was like, it was adorable, but it was terrifying because she had a little brush. She was standing right next to a full-grown horse.
Don't trust them.
Like
they kick,
they kick. Cleaning the horse off, and I just kept thinking like terrible thoughts.
By the way,
what were you thinking? Walk us through.
I was like, I would be terrified that the daughter's gonna get kicked.
This is a domesticated horse. It is not.
That's what they want you to
raise. Yeah. I don't believe that at all.
Big horse is a horse, of course.
Unlike Greg Cody, we are not contributing to the rash of horse deaths.
Well, Mike, let me tell you something. As a horse owner, horses can be dangerous. Keep your daughter away from a full-grown horse.
That's another thing I got, by the way, on the way in today. He's ranting against the Kentucky Derby because he's now a horse owner, so he feels more entitled to be in this conversation.
Yeah, well, the 7 horse deaths the week of the Kentucky Derby was a terrible thing. A trainer's already been suspended for it. There's going to be more repercussions. It's a terrible thing. Luckily, the syndicate I'm involved with, Team Valor, is at the forefront of equine safety. And
I don't know.
You
that
sound
to
like
be
super
true.
villains.
No, they are.
Valor.
Yeah.
But
Equine
It's a
safety
syndicate.
while still having the horse race.
Yeah.
Can you
Right.
can you prove this, or is this just?
No, I can prove
Is that
it.
an email you got?
I
to
can
say that?
disprove it by just saying the horse races.
It's in the name Team Valor.
Yeah.
Listen, horse racing per se is not dangerous. Okay, horse race.
Our guest yesterday disagrees.
Horses are some of the most well cared for animals on earth. The problem is
He's reading from his email right now.
No. The problem is, and this is why the trainer associated with the Kentucky Derby was suspended indefinitely, is because the suspicion is something led to those deaths, something improper.
But it's a pretty common thing for a lot of horses to die, 7 in a week. We had an activist on with us yesterday who says at average track, 6 a day, horses are dying. They're using up horses' bodies in order to feed the mill for money and gambling.
I mean, in fairness, every human dies.
That is correct. But we're not being run at a very high rate of speed, and all of us dying right before our biggest sporting event.
You should have seen me coming from the Bright Line this morning.
we were missing that pushback right there, Billy, yesterday.
I mean, 100% of radio personalities die.
That is correct. I've gone too far here without mentioning something.
Many of them are treated far worse and surrounded by more of their own feces.
I have been remiss in not going back a little bit to what I think all of us were noticing at the same time with a great deal of uproarious laughter. This is a soft spot for Greg Cody. Greg Cody, when you attack his journalistic credentials and you are a radio foof who hasn't had to put in the work that Greg Cody has had to put in, what you guys heard was a rabid, barking Greg Cody just screaming again and again at Zaslow, nice hat. Nice hat. Because he felt like Zaslow was in the room disrespecting him, and he was arguing.
He was saying it louder, like, nice hat.
He was arguing with the video Zaslow as if Zaslow were here in the room and could hear him. He hit him with like 6 or 7 nice hats.
Correct.
And I would just like to play the video again. I want to play it again because you guys have to understand he's nuts. I'm talking about.
If you notice, Zazo had no comeback for him, though.
Thank you, Billy. Right on the nose.
I'm going to play it again.
No, we cannot play this again. We can't do this. Come on, this is gratuitous.
Okay, it may be gratuitous, but I'd
Hey,
like.
Trey Marino!
I would like to rummage around, please, because these are serious feelings for you. What Zaz has said has upset you.
Why wouldn't it? I got to defend myself. You know, if you tell me that horse racing is a criminal activity, I'm going to defend the horse racing industry now that I'm an owner of a racehorse.
Just stop
named
killing the
Conley.
horses. Just stop buying and killing
I
the
don't
horses.
do that, and Team Valor is well known.
His syndicate is at the forefront of equine safety.
They are.
Team Valor.
And I'll have details on that next week, by the way.
Oh, wow.
No,
Okay.
I will. It's certifiable. My syndicate is at the forefront of equine safety.
You mentioned that.
Yeah.
You mentioned that exact
the
phrase.
syndicate. Yeah,
Details forthcoming.
That's correct.
As you scramble to make
And
them
you
up.
know it.
Right, yeah.
Nobody believes you.
Not unlike Jimmy Butler, you're getting stronger as the game goes on.
Thank you very much.
Your percentage stake in horse ownership, as soon as you get to the sport, all of a sudden everyone notices an alarming rate of speed with which the horses are dying.
Yeah, that's totally coincidental. As far as I know. Horses in my syndicate are not dying. It does happen elsewhere. I will admit, Santa Anita had a big problem a year ago. The Kentucky Derby had an aberrant problem just this past week, which was a shame for the entire industry. But it is
This is a new and unimproved Dan Lebatard show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
We will get to the bottom of whether it's Kachuk or Kachuk, because I think we've all been pronouncing it our entire lives. It's a famous hockey name, Roy. You would be shocked if he comes on here and in some ways tells us all, hey, it's not Kachuk. It's not supposed to be pronounced that way.
Yeah, I would be shocked considering that I've been calling his father Kachuk for a majority of his career.
This is a genuine hockey superstar that is about to join us. Mike has said again ad nauseum that this is the second best player in the sport, offensive player. That there's Connor McDavid, and that's it. That's the second place is this guy they traded for, and not just traded for. Again, it's an 8 seed. The story is interesting if you care about hockey at all, and even if you don't. They had the best offense in the league, a historic, great, fun team, and they had the courage to blow it up. And everybody's pretty much like, what are you doing? Because they blew it up because, it got to the Lightning. Playoff hockey's a totally different thing. And then this season was joy-killing. It was not fun to watch this season. It was the opposite of what last regular season was.
No, you're right. The transition offense completely disappeared. But what appeared was a hyper-aggressive forecheck. And
Did it appear or disappear?
It appeared.
Okay.
The hyper-aggressive forecheck is what appeared, and that's what wins playoff games.
I believe Roy to be the single weirdest hockey tweeter anywhere in the universe. I defy anyone to tell me that I am wrong on this.
Power play for Toronto.
He does similar. Greg Cody is known to do this similar thing with Dolphins games.
What's that?
He tweet
Field goal is good.
You tweet things as if no one's watching the game.
Well, you got to keep in mind that the Heat game is on at the same time most times. So if you're at the Heat game or you're watching the Heat game and you're on Twitter, you can actually see what's going on.
No, I know, but power play to Toronto does me no favors.
It does, actually. It kind of does because you know that the Panthers might allow a power play goal in this situation.
Right.
So,
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll just see the alert for power play goal. Right?
No, you can look on Twitter.
Hey,
and
man,
see what I said.
just keep doing what you're doing.
All right. Well, you're not credentialed, so.
Whoa! That's right. I see Roy in the press box wearing a credential around his neck. He's bona fide.
One credential in one hand, a beer in the other.
But he is at the games as a journalist. He is with his binoculars. The players are very far away.
Very far away.
He's in the rafters. Let me explain to you. Geographically, he's about as far as human beings can be from where the action is, but he's closer than Mike.
When you say power play to Toronto, are you asking with a question mark because you can't see from your seat?
And when you say credential, do you think I give a shit?
I actually don't give a shit if you give a shit. So.
I don't give. Roy, what are you doing? You're being mad weird right now.
Now?
Yeah, you always.
Now?
Power play, Mike.
Nice hat.
Penalty kill.
Greg Cody yelled at Zaslow again and again. Nice hat. And I do want to play
Came off the second most offensive on our show today.
I want to play the video now for the people again. And if you could sit it out, I'd like to get your genuine, real commentary.
I want him talking at it again.
Yeah. You do? Okay, that's
the
fine.
heckling version is better.
Okay, do it however it is you want. He will get upset, though. This is not a... We can tickle him here and enrage him here. I know my friend. I've known him for a long time. He is now officially pissed off. Like, he's... it's annoying that Zaslow would speak of you this way.
Right. Sure. Yeah, it's like, and sometime in the wild, in the plains of Africa, you see a gigantic rhinoceros, and on the back of the rhinoceros is a tiny little bird. That's the rhino doesn't feel the bird, but when the bird is hectoring in his ear, eventually it's just sort of annoying. And so the rhino snaps his head and tusks the bird to death. I'm just using that as a metaphor. I don't mean any harm to Zaslow. But he's just, he's a small bird
Is the rhino
on my back.
at the forefront of avian safety?
That's right. I own a rhinoceros, by the way. A racing rhinoceros.
Put it on the poll at Lebatard Show. Are you allowed to own a rhinoceros? And also at Lebatard Show, would anybody listening to this want to own a rhinoceros?
I'd watch him race.
That'd be great.
Oh, so we don't want to just kill horses now. Now you want to run that?
Imagine that industry.
Yeah. No, the plight of the rhino hasn't been difficult enough.
No, race and then
That's
fight.
a good idea. Let's bleep
race,
this.
Yeah, race and fight at the end. Again, nice hat. Nice hat. Let's play that audio again because I want authentic reaction. I'm telling you, this is a soft spot for my friend.
I
love
think
the
I
man, I'm
used
sorry.
to take it as a personal affront to radio that he would sit here, the other building, and just doesn't know anything about how to do radio. I used to take it. It was an Now look, I was younger. Okay, I've come a long way, but it used to be an insult to me that you're in there and you don't know how to do anything, and it would bother me.
I just laugh at it. I mean, how could you not
Like
just
the
laugh at it?
microphone's not on. He's talking. He
can't
doesn't
even say the word
realize
insult.
that we're on the
Insult.
air. You got the hard outs. It's like he's coughing into the microphone.
Counterpoint.
Here's also the reality. Like
Get a new
we got off
jersey.
to a really bad start because, like I said, you can't trade Marino.
Jersey sucks.
30 years ago, traded Marino.
It's what he's most known for. It's not like I'm holding on to it.
Do you remember what Scott Mitchell looked like in that next game after Marino
They
got
were
hurt?
9-2.
That
they were
jersey?
9-2.
Not awesome.
And then they lost their last 5 and missed the playoffs. They were 9-2. But it's Marino. And then the next time we saw Marino, after Greg Cody traded him, he threw for 5 touchdowns. And he was Dan the Man on the cover of Sports Illustrated. You can't trade Marino.
How did it end, though? I think you can trade Marino.
That's where it started.
Thank you, Izzy.
That's where it started. It's
We got off on the wrong foot.
No, but the problem that Zaslow has with Cody is that that's the last memorable column he wrote of any kind.
I remember a news story he broke, but I don't remember a column.
Very
that he wrote.
polarizing. Very polarizing. You can't trade Marino, okay? That's not my fault.
Get over it.
I didn't even notice Dan shot at you that first time.
It's weird.
I
Not-
did.
Not like him to keep poking and prodding.
Seriously, Zazo, you worry me there. Put some sunscreen on. What the hell's going on with his get red? I worry about him.
Well said.
Well said.
Nice hat.
Roasted.
He went back to the hits.
I mean, I don't want to dig a hole with Zaslow. I don't have any personal animus with him. We barely know each other. So, good for him.
I told you he was going to get genuinely hurt.
I'm not hurt. Au contraire.
I mean, it's a respect factor in this situation. I mean, you've been working in this town for God knows how long, and like you feel like you're disrespected for the work that you've done.
There's some of that, but I just don't want to escalate this.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to escalate this. I'm
It's a
gonna
good move.
I'm
Take
gonna
the
be
high
the
road.
I'm gonna be the bigger man. I am taking the high road.
Who would win a
Billy.
celebrity
Thank you.
boxing match?
I would.
Wow.
Greg.
Are we about the same weight? How much does Zaslow weigh?
Rabid old man rage.
He had gout once.
What's that?
Tell of the tape. Zaslow had gout once.
Did he have gout?
Yeah, he had gout once.
Really? See, I've never had gout.
Yeah.
That's
I'll
a
box,
foot thing, right?
I'll box them for you if you want.
All right, go ahead. Yeah, you do that, and then I'll fight the winner.
Guys,
I don't know what's going on.
there's way too much testosterone in this.
Yeah,
in this segment.
I make love, not war.
My dad's just old, so I envisioned a heart attack in
Thank
the middle
you.
of the ring. So I
Thank
was like,
you
I'll
for
do
that.
it.
Yeah, it wouldn't go the way you guys are imagining it. It would end with Greg Cody's death, and we just walked
hits.
in an old.
2 hits. One me grabbing my chest, one me hitting the floor.
We'd be walking, fueled on rage, to the ring. An old man who famously thinks he can do everything, including actually kick the ass of Zaslow, which would be fine and funny right up until Greg got hit the first time.
I very recently saw Greg pass out while he was watching highlight.
I got pugilistic blood. While Bill Cody, as an amateur, was a boxer.
That's true.
Before he went,
That means nothing
before he
for
went
you.
in the army, when he was like 17 or 18.
Thank you for your
He
service.
was. I think he was in the AAU boxing back
Yeah,
then.
I think so.
Yeah. I know how to
Hey,
defend
what does
myself.
that mean? Like Golden Gloves?
Yeah, something like that.
Greg,
Yeah.
there is
Something like that.
Yeah, I wasn't around. I mean,
I think you can make the argument that you've always been at the forefront of equine safety because we
Thank you.
were made aware of a photo from yesterday that we had never seen before. And I'm hoping you can explain to the audience that's listening to us on podcast what we're looking at right now.
That's me winning a harness race.
Crappy celebrity harness
It's
race.
the happiest I've ever seen your father.
And I'm wearing
Look
my
at
deck
that smile.
shoes, by the way.
The ones we just buried.
That was a beautiful miniature horse, not a pony,
You're
a
making it worse,
full-grown
probably.
miniature horse. And I don't remember the horse.
You are not at the forefront of equine safety. Equine
Team Valor
safety.
is.
You're
Yeah.
not.
Little Sebastian
It
from
looks
Parks
like
and Rec.
in that photo, it looks like you are reveling in not being at the forefront of equine safety.
Well, you know, it was a pissant celebrity race.
You
I
were
was
accused
honored
of
to be
cheating
in it.
though, because it's supposed to be a trotting thing, and yours was like
Right.
running.
Well, I'm not. It was my first time on a harness horse.
A miniature horse.
I wasn't on the horse. It's a harness
Yeah,
race.
it drags him like a
Yeah.
chariot.
But
on
it's
a
miniature.
harness race.
Right.
But it's a miniature
You're wearing a
horse.
bicycle helmet?
It looks like
You know what? I think it probably is.
he's so happy.
It probably is.
Look at the smile. I've never seen your father smile like
it's
that.
great.
He
Yeah.
is maniacally grinning.
That
He-
nose, man, Jesus.
Who did
You can see
beat?
I got a length on horse number 3 there. You can see.
Yeah, Billy asked.
Well,
who'd
you were
beat?
you were cheating.
I think
getting
Dave
rid of
Hyde was on that.
Across the finish line. I know Dave Barry was in that race. Lebatard, weren't you in that race?
I was.
Oh wow!
Oh! You're missing details here, Dan.
Oh, that poor horse. You made us take that guess yesterday. The whole time you were hiding this detail.
It was you the whole time.
You. What? Where did you finish? It was last, wasn't it? That poor
Because
horse.
he was respecting the horse. He didn't want the horse.
Respectfully.
Where did you finish? I can't remember.
I don't recall. There's got to be a picture somewhere of me in that race as well. I can't be as happy as Greg Cody was.
Well, I won the damn thing. Why wouldn't I be happy?
in the race. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a photograph there somewhere of me.
Wow. Let's unearth it. I would like to see that. I would pay to see that photo. As a matter of
Greg, what
fact.
year was that?
Yeah, it's got to be 25 years ago, right? I don't know.
I remember. I know I was there. I think I was like 10 or 11. So yeah, like around that.
Okay. You were there?
This is a new and unimproved Dan Le Batard show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.